In terms of how I think attitudes have changed, and I can speak really from the 1990s through the noughties and obviously till now. I think during, university years, which would have been from 97 to 2000, I did experience quite a lot of negativity, and that would be from, bar staff or bouncers or general people in the street. And I think there's a massive difference. I would be flabbergasted, really, if somebody, were to, call out in the street or confront you about, homosexuality, in the street or in any sort of, common environment.
I came out in 2000. I was 13 years old, but as I got older, it definitely got a lot easier. And I'm glad that I came out so young now. And I have no regrets at all. And I don't know, maybe it's that attitude that I had then, and people like me that kind of encourages younger people to come out now. Not me solely, but as a group.
I finally came to terms with the fact that I'm a trans woman, and I came to terms with the fact that if I didn't start living my life as a trans woman, I wasn't going to live very long at all. And I spoke to my diversity manager at work and said, look, I'm going to have to come out as a trans woman at work. I want to do it in 9 months' time. I'm really lucky because my employer has supported me all the way. I spent 10 months knowing it was going to happen, living two lives, and thinking that the hardest experience of my life was going to come by transitioning at work. I'd agreed to take some time off and then come back in the autumn as myself, And but I got there. That's the point. That's the big point for me, is that every step of the way where I thought this is going to be hard, this is going to be tough, telling my family, going out my front door, going to the shops, I've going abroad, all the different steps I've taken where you think, oh my gosh, this is going to be so horrible. I've made it through every single one of them. I went back to work and everyone was fine, no one gave me any problems, no one looked at me funny, everyone was really friendly and they were fine about it. And I know that having done that I can do anything.
Since I've come out, people have said I've completely changed as a person. I've become more confident. I've become more able to be myself. I've been more relaxed, and basically just get on with life in a way that I've never experienced before. I just feel completely free to be who I am.
I'm quite confident when it comes to my own sexuality and my own identity. I'm not frightened of anyone. I'm not frightened of anything. This is who I am. You can't see it on that camera, but there's a wheelchair underneath me as well. So that kind of identifies me as a person as well. So it's kind of, okay. The homo on wheels. It's like, doesn't bother me at all what other people say or think.
The most difficult person to come out to was my dad, really, because over the years, both my parents had been homophobic and, kind of shared their views and opinions as I was growing up. And I can remember my dad once commenting, there was a programme on TV, and I can remember him commenting that, all gay people were like animals and they should be shot. So coming out to Dad was really difficult. And the day that I came out to him, he cried, and I said, look, I'm sorry, I know that this has completely ruined your life. And he said, you don't know why I'm crying. I'm crying because actually it doesn't stop me from loving you, and I really regret you not being able to tell me before,
Well, basically my day job I'm a head teacher of an emotional and behavioural school. The response that I've had from them as far as are you gay. I remember the first time I was sort of in the classroom and one of them turned around, Missy, you're lesbian, and I just like popped my head up and went yeah, and just carried on doing my work, and that was it. I didn't respond or anything like that, and then it was just jokes really, like, oh, can we have sex education? And I said, oh, it's not in my job. It's not in my job description to give you sex education, but I will get you a nursing, and I'll use humour out of it. I've had incidents where they're calling me like, oh, you fucking fat lesbian, and I'm like, less of the fat please, so it's I try and use humour around it rather than like I'll never hide it, because I don't see the point, because you're not actually like learning them anything, and you're not putting anything forward then, and you're not going to build like an understanding of it a lot more. I think kids understand it a lot more now than what they used to, because that's there's a massive change as far as that's concerned. It's quite open, I think, a lot more with teenagers and what have you than what it used to be. Because I think when I was younger, people didn't really talk about it. Where now you get an awful lot of teenagers coming out that they're gay and lesbian and all the rest of it at school still. So I think it's a lot earlier than what it used to be.
Networks are really important because they give you that link between people. Yeah, it's hard to meet people when you're not. Being LGBT generally doesn't give you a big purple head, or some very visible thing about you that says yes, you're like me, or no, you're not like me. And I think having those networks in place that gives you the opportunity to meet other people, socialise with them, and do that in a way that's not ruled by drink, which very much the scene is.
I've been very well supported, particularly within the LGBT network in Wolverhampton. I've had a lot of support from various groups, which has been really, really helpful. I think it's changed massively since Martha took over the network, and Martha's really, really supported me in the last few months, which, yeah, she just has. But I enjoy supporting the network. I think it's really important, and I think had I have known about the youth group when I was younger, I would have gone, but I didn't know where to look for it or anything at the time, but I would have gone to it, and I think I would have really benefited from having other gay people rather than it just being me against the world. So I think when I started going to the women's group, I was like, actually, it's not that bad. And there were older couples, and I was thinking, oh, so, my mum's not right, not all lesbians end up on their own with cats or whatever. There were quite a few couples, and it was quite nice to see.
I'm starting to help other young trans people to kind of like, not to go in the same footpath I was, for making the wrong choices, just because you just want to be yourself that quick. It's not just about the image, it's what you know in the inside where other people don't know.
I feel accepted within the LGBT community in Wolverhampton. That the LGBT network's really good though. I think that's really good to like meet other people and differences and that. I think it's a really good network. It's like embracing the Black and Asian lesbian community as well. It makes you feel like you're not the only one.
It's great representing Wolverhampton and being obviously the top scorer last season. There's not many of us that are gay on the team, but we're still all family and treat each other the same, and we don't change the way we speak to each other and treat each other based on whether we're gay, straight or bi. It's just a gay friendly football team that we love playing for. But I think the Premier League's a completely different ball game. I think in this day and age, well, ever since football became as famous as it is, I don't think we'll get any player come out anytime soon.
I think the largest changes in my lifetime have been to do with social attitudes and the acceptability of being LGBT. T less so, unfortunately. Trans people still get a hell of a lot of grief, more so than maybe LGBT people in some areas. But I think that in some ways social attitudes always lag behind legislation in some ways. I think sometimes legislation, when the argument is for equality, when the argument is for an identified inequality in society, I think it takes that legislative change to normalise or to make it acceptable in the eyes of the general public.
Actually, I think the best thing for the LGBT community at the moment is that the civil partnership come out. That's my opinion anyway. It's good to know that there's more of an opportunity for people like the gay community to be recognised more and be able to love one another and not. Well, they still get judged, but it's not as bad as before. They're allowed to commit to each other and have it down on paper. It's not only just the heterosexual community that love.
At the moment, I'm actually engaged. I have a fiancée named Laura. Yes, she's very beautiful. And we recently got engaged. We actually got engaged this year. Yes, it was a surprise. She got me, and she got me good. One of my Wednesday nights that I do out on stage, doing a bit of karaoke and a bit of entertaining people, and then after finishing the song I was told to stay on the stage, and there was a chair brought onto the stage to me. So then I have this box, a lips box, and I call it the Lips Lucky Dip box, and like lots of different prizes I wrap up and put inside this box. Well, she comes over with the box, so I thought there's probably something in there like random or something. And I opened it, and inside was a ring, but not just any ring, not this ring. It was we'd met. We've been together for over 4 years, and I think it was probably in the first 6 months of meeting each other, I'd bought a big pack of sweets, and there were 2 jelly rings, only 2 in the whole pack, and they were opposites of each other. One was blue with a red stone, and one had a blue stone with a red ring kind of thing. And I gave it to her, and I actually said, "Will you be my bitch?" And that's what she asked me to marry her with.
I used to go to a petrol station in Bridgnorth, and there was a really cute guy that was serving in the petrol station. So I went in on a Friday night, spotted his car work there. Petrol station was empty, and so when I handed over my money, he was asking how I was, and I said, "Fine, I'm off out tonight." He says, "Oh, where are you going?" And I meant to say like the Greyhound or the Dorchester, or drop in some gay pubs and that, but I couldn't. So I just said, "Oh, I go to the Varsity in the Royal London." And he turned around to me and says, "Oh, well, I go to the Greyhound and the White Hart. Do you know them?" And I says, "Yeah, I was going to say them, but I didn't have the courage." And he just like smirked and laughed at me, and we exchanged phone numbers. And 17 years later, we're still together.
My partner's kind of like helped me as well to kind of like move, and he's been there every step of the way. You know, he's defended me, and to me, he never treated me any different. It's just natural. When you love someone, it's just there, not from what you see. Yeah, so I've been with Kevin now like for 3 years now. We're thinking of having a home and just having children, but there were times where I never thought like I'd never feel like this or feel like I'm gonna get married or anything like that, but he's just starting to say like, start thinking like that, start thinking positive, and I'm just like, I don't know, I'm not used to it, you see. Well, personally, I would love to have my own DNA kind of children, but obviously I know that's impossible. So we have been discussing it, but I try not to dig too much on it because I don't want to create false hopes.
I would love to have a family in the future, and I think that the way that I'd have to go about it would be quite stressful. My perceived view is that it'd be quite stressful. But having talked to older LGBT people, who have families, I'm realising it more and more that, you know, it is a possibility. There definitely is ways of having children, whether you adopt or whether you have sperm donors or anything like that. So I'm happier now knowing that there are a lot of people that do, gay couples that do have families.
Initially, when I first came out to my husband and the family and friends that I did come out to, because when we talk about the wall of 8 within the bi community, I'm not all the way out so that everybody I meet knows, but a majority of the way out. And initially I didn't tell my son because, like I said, with work, I didn't think it was something that was relevant for him to know. Over time, it's become obviously very relevant for him to know because of obviously having girlfriends or involvements with people, and there's only so far you can get away with convincing a prepubescent teenager that nothing's going on. So eventually I told my son, and my son was like, oh, okay. Then he was like, you're not splitting up, are you? I was like, no, we're not splitting up. And he went, that's all right then. Does Dad know? Yes. Okay, cool. To the point that when I came along to Wolverhampton Pride earlier in the summer, he complained that I didn't bring him with him. Bring him with me, rather. So he wants to be part of it.
I have my son Joel from the relationship that when I tried to, you know, follow a straight path and it just didn't work. But he's played a part in it. He's got a very sort of open mind about things now. He knows that, you know, 2 men in love is gay men, 2 women in love is lesbians, and that's just part of life for him now. It's not an issue. He actually took part in the video that I did for Stonewall that was shown at the LGBT Film Festival, saying, my mum's gay, get over it. And it got that awe factor, and everybody in the cinema just went, oh, and he was like, that's me. He was quite proud of that. But yeah, he's always had a sort of, because, you know, growing up with it from so young, he's always had a really open mind about it, and has told other people. I mean, he's told me that people at school have said, your mum's a lesbian. He's gone, yeah, I know. It's just not an issue for him. It's just like, yeah, no, that's it.
I can definitely say that I made the right decision to transition. You know, I am a woman. I know that I've always been female, and to be like this feels right to me. And I know that having transitioned now, I can look forward to the rest of my life.
I just want the day to come where it doesn't matter. It really genuinely does not matter whether you're lesbian, bisexual, gay, transgendered, straight, whatever. When people can just accept people as people.
As long as you're happy and as long as you're true to your heart, then, you know, that's all that you really need.